Cardiovascular disease is now the number one reason for global death. In India, it's responsible for 31% of all deaths. And with a population of 1.46 billion people, this translates to 9.5 million lives lost every single year. Hi, my name is Priyanka Arora and I am a longevity enthusiast. My mission is deeply personal and universally important. My mission is to live for 200 years. I want to help you to understand the science-backed tools and accessible biohacking protocols, the latest medical research that can truly transform your health, and not just by adding years to life, but life to years. In today's episode, I want to talk about something so important but we don't pay any attention to it, and that is cardiovascular diseases. Most people still think that it happens to older people only, but the belief is not just wrong, it's absolutely dangerous. Because now even people in their 20s and 30s are having heart attacks and strokes, and many of them have no symptoms and no warnings, nothing. This isn't just an age problem anymore. It's actually a lifestyle crisis. And the scariest part is, it's silent until it's not. I'm not here to scare you. I'm just here because I care for you and because you deserve to know the truth before it's too late. Since 2020, we've seen a drastic increase in heart attacks and in stroke even among young adults. According to the World Health Organization, cardiovascular disease is now the number one reason for global death. In India, it's responsible for 31% of all deaths, and that's a staggering number. And with a population of 1.46 billion people, this translates to 9.5 million lives lost every single year. These aren't just numbers, they represent someone's son, daughter, friend, parent, and some promising lives cut short. Now, what's alarming is that people in their 20s and 30s are now collapsing without any warning. We have to ask ourselves this question: why this process is speeding up so fast, and why so many young hearts are failing? The answer lies in the plaque accumulation in the arteries. Over time, this sticky cholesterol-rich buildup causes the arterial walls to become unstable. When this plaque ruptures, it can cause stroke, a heart attack, or a sudden blockage in the blood supply to a critical organ. If the artery supplies the heart or the brain, the consequences can be instant death or lifelong paralysis. But how this actually happens? Let's break it down, because understanding this mechanism is first step to take back the control. Cardiovascular diseases, particularly the arteriosclerosis kind or ASCVD, doesn't just begin when we start feeling the chest pain. It starts decades earlier, often in childhood. Yes, you heard me correct. The process begins when cholesterol carrying particles like LDL, which contains a protein called ApoB with a capital B, begins to penetrate in the inner lining of your arteries. These particles are so small, but they are so persistent. Over time, they become oxidized and trigger an immune response. Your immune system sees them as a threat and sends white blood cells, especially monocytes, to handle the situation. These cells transform into a foam cells and eventually form fatty stakes and plaque. This plaque can narrow the arteries over years, or in some cases it can rupture suddenly, causing a clot to form that blocks the blood flow in seconds. That's when a heart attack or a stroke happens. The truly terrifying part is that 45 to 50% of people who get their first stroke doesn't survive. For them, the very first symptom is death. So why are we missing this? Because the process is so silent that arteries don't start sending the signal or symptoms until they are already blocked for 50 to 75%. By the time the chest pain shows up, you're already in a danger. And that is why waiting for a symptom, it's like waiting for a volcano to erupt. In fact, early signs of plaque accumulation have been discovered among children as young as 4 to 8 years old. There has been autopsies of soldiers who were in their early 20s or 25 have seen plaque accumulation, which reveals subclinical arteriosclerosis, meaning the disease is already well underway even in your youth. And yet in most healthcare systems, routine cardiovascular screening doesn't begin until your 40s or 50s. And that's like checking for termites after your roof has already collapsed. And that's why early health checkup is not just optional, it's now essential. Now the question comes, what should we actually check? Most people still focus on total cholesterol or LDL levels, but today we know there is a far more accurate marker, and that is called ApoB with a capital B. ApoB with a capital B is the protein found on all the cholesterol carrying particles that can cause plaque. Each of these particles, LDL, VLDL, IDL and LP with a small a, carries one molecule of ApoB. So by measuring ApoB, you are not just looking for cholesterol content, you're counting the number of orthogenic particles in your bloodstream, and more particularly, more particles means more chances of one slipping into your artery walls and starting the disease process. On the other hand, ApoBA with a capital A1 is the primary protein in HDL, often called the good cholesterol. But again, it's not just about having a high HDL number. What matters is whether HDL is functioning properly, whether it's effectively removing cholesterol from your arteries and transporting it back to your liver. And then there's a blood pressure, another quiet force behind cardiovascular diseases. When your blood pressure is constantly high, it puts excessive mechanical stress on your arterial walls. This makes it easier for ApoB with a capital B particles to infiltrate and cause damage, just like pressure washing a cracked wall drives water deep into the structure. Now let's understand what those two numbers when you measure your blood pressure means. The upper number is systolic pressure. This pressure is when your heart contracts and pumps the blood out, and the below number is diastolic pressure, the pressure when your heart relaxes between the beats. Both number matters, but especially elevated systolic pressure, which is directly linked to a higher risk of heart attack and strokes. Unfortunately, many people measure their blood pressure incorrectly. If you want accurate result, You need to sit quietly for at least 5 minutes before taking the measures. Keep your feet flat and your back supported. Avoid talking or moving. Place the cuffs at the heart level and avoid caffeine or smoking before 30 minutes from taking your measurements. There was a great game-changing trial that is called the sprint trial. This landmark study shows that lowering your systolic blood pressure below 120 instead the conventional 140 dramatically reduces the risk of heart attack, strokes and even death. This isn't just a fringe science. This is modern, validated and actionable evidence. When you put all this together and you begin to see the perfect storm building silently inside your body, high ApoB, which loads the gun, high blood pressure, which weakens the wall, and chronic inflammation, which actually pulls the trigger. And the most terrifying of all, that you might be feeling perfectly fine when all this is actually happening. You're facing a triple threat inside your body, and the most dangerous part is that it's building silently day after day without any symptoms or any warning. The first threat is elevated ApoB, a marker that tells that your blood is carrying an excessive number of cholesterol-rich particles like LDL. Each of these particles has a potential to lodge itself into the walls of your arteries, triggering inflammation and forming plaque. This isn't a maybe. This is a starting point of arteriosclerosis, and it often begins decades before any diagnosis. The second silent driver is blood pressure. When your blood pressure stays elevated, it gradually wears down the inner lining of your arteries. This damage creates a microscopic opening that makes it easier for ApoB particles to penetrate in and sticks. This accelerates the plaque building process. The third and the most often forgotten component is chronic inflammation. Inflammation acts like a fuel on a smothering fire, turning what could have minor, manageable damage into accelerated degeneration. It makes everything worse, heightening your risk for your clotting, a rupture, or sudden cardiovascular event. And perhaps the most terrifying truth in all of this is that you feel nothing while it's happening. And there is no pain, no discomfort, no obvious sign. You could be walking around perfectly fine while underneath the surface your arteries are narrowing and your risk is rising. By the time the symptoms shows up, it's often when the event is already underway, and for many the event is either disability or fatal death. And this is why understanding the mechanism isn't just about useful knowledge, but it's a life-saving awareness. And now, before we end, I want to take you a little deeper into the heart of this conversation. And because your heart isn't just a pump, it's a reflection of how you live, breathe, and move and nourish yourself. One of the most underrated ways to measure your heart's resilience is your VO2 max, your body's ability to take in the oxygen and actually use it to create energy. It's a lifespan and a health span indicator. A low VO2 max means your body is struggling to meet the demands in your daily life. But when your VO2 max is high, your heart, lungs, and your cells are aligned and they are like in symphony. Strong, adaptable, and efficient. It's your inner engine says, I'm built for long run. And yes, you can improve your VO2 max and there is no need for any lab. All you need to do is do a 4x4 Norwegian, that is just walk fast, breathe deeper, or climb more stairs, play outdoors, stay consistent. It's not about being extreme, it's about choosing movement as your medicine. Now let's talk about food, not as diet plan, but something as a cellular communication. Every bite you take is a signal telling your body either to heal or to break down. We need to move beyond our calories and our macros. Ask yourself if this food is feeding my mitochondria or it's draining me. Because your mitochondria are those tiny power plants inside your cell that are keeping your heart beating, your brain sharp, your skin glowing, and your energy alive. So when mitochondria are supported, you age gracefully. And when they are inflamed, they are dysfunctional, and they are depleted, you feel the cost in your mood, in your sleep, and in your digestion, and also in your heart. So choose the food that can support your mitochondria and help your body to heal. And yes, we all know it's whole food, colorful vegetables, white caught fish, clean protein, herbs, spices, and also nutrients that fuel your cellular engines like magnesium, CQ10, B vitamins, and omega 3. And finally, I want to close with this. We have to stop looking at cardiovascular diseases as something that hits us at the age of 60, because we have to stop thinking a stroke or a heart attack as something we'll see coming, because truthfully, you won't. It will not send you any kind of calendar invite, or it will not send you any kind of message. It will just build quietly in the background of your lives while you're scrolling, or you're stressing, or you're skipping your sleep, or you're telling yourself that we'll start next month or next day. And that's exactly why prevention isn't just something that is better than cure. It's actually the real option. This isn't about fear. This is about responsibilities. This is about realizing that the heart isn't just something that just keeps beating. It's a lifelong goal and a compass of how we choose to live every single day. And on this note, I want to thank you all for staying this long till the end. And you being here means you care, and it means that you're a part of this movement, this mission. Before you leave, you know what I'm going to say. But anyway, I will still say, please like, share, and subscribe. And please share it with someone who needs this information, because it's just not an information, it's more like an awareness. And this is a time when this awareness is very crucial and necessary. I am Priyanka Arora, and I'm very grateful that you're walking this path of longevity, this journey with me. Thank you. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and take back control of your biology, because now it's time to reverse your life.